Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why anxious, preoccupied attachment style individuals end up sometimes trapped in friends with benefits situations. So we're going to talk a little bit about the motivation, why this happens in the first place, like the root causes underneath, and then what you can do about it. Before I dive into all of this amazing stuff, I am still doing our With You promotion. As long as there's uncertainty in the world, we will be offering as long as there's a degree of uncertainty that there is right now, let's say, because there's always uncertainty in the world. I will be offering 25% off of our membership bundles. So for 3, 6, 12 months, when you sign up, it's for the all access membership pass. That gives you access to literally all 40 plus pre-recorded courses with 25 or so page workbooks for every single course, along with 4 live webinars that I do with our students every single week. And then we have attachment coach run events that are literally really exciting. They are all over Zoom. You get to see other people face to face who are like-minded, who are working on themselves. It's a great place to build new friendships, relationships, community. And so we offer that as well. And that's all together, and it's 25% off, and it's very affordable. So I'll put a link in the description box below. And we have a money back guarantee. So if anybody comes in and they're not over the moon, that's so okay. And you can have your money back. So check it out. Now let's talk about this. So why do anxious, preoccupied individuals end up in friends with benefit situations? If we are really honest, the vast majority of anxious, preoccupied would prefer not to be in friends with benefit situations. They would prefer to be in more committed or exclusive relationships. And the reason that some anxious, preoccupied can end up in these situations, and not to confuse, if you're like, oh, but I like friends with benefit situations, and you're watching this, not to confuse this with somebody who's fearful, avoidant, leaning anxious. Because if you have an avoidant side, there might be this natural tendency in there to avoid intimacy. Not all anxious preoccupieds will be, in a friends with benefit situations for specifically the reasons I'm about to mention, but I would say the vast, vast majority will be. And this is that number one, anxious preoccupied have a tendency to want to get into situations to please other people. And sometimes they'll take the quick fix. So let's say, for example, you are an anxious preoccupied person and you're interested in somebody, but you don't believe that they're interested in you back, or you don't believe that they're ready for commitment. A lot of anxious preoccupied individuals will justify or rationalize entering into this situation because they'll go, well, we'll just get to know each other. We'll spend time together. I'd rather have the connection than no connection at all. So it's the avoidance of the core wound, I am alone. And in time, this person will probably end up being interested in me or wanting a relationship with me. And I think if we just, really connect, I can gear it that way. And the reality of a situation is a lot more people who say, I really don't want anything beyond, I'm not ready for a relationship. I don't want anything beyond friends with benefit situation. The vast majority of individuals operating in that space, they mean it. And so when an anxious, preoccupied individual tells themselves, oh, I'm going to just jump into this situation and things will turn around, or, eventually we'll get feelings and end up committing to one another, vast majority of the time it's untrue. And so it's really important to break that idea or that hopefulness and it's sort of like this fantasy, and come back into the reality of what's in front of you. And it's important to recognize that. So that's number one. Number two, if there is some kind of romantic dynamic, even if it's a friend that you have and then something happens romantically between the two of you, oftentimes it'll be well, now I don't want to lose that. And sometimes even if you wouldn't want to be in a deep romantic dynamic, if that's not your ideal person and they have features that violate your non-negotiables, or they have parts about them that you're you know what, I don't see this working long-term and I want a long-term relationship, why do I find myself continuously going back to this person in that way? The vast majority of the time it's because there's this pure avoidance of I don't want to feel abandoned by this person. Something's happened, there's some kind of romantic chemistry or situation, and purely from the fear of feeling abandoned, or the fear of disconnecting, you go back into that dynamic, you participate in something that actually might violate your own boundaries and desires at a deep root level if you really tap in, and you go in that direction because of fear, essentially fear of feeling abandoned, or the pain of no longer having that situation any longer, which obviously triggers those core abandonment wounds. So those are the major reasons that I see. Okay. So literally fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, and also this idea that, things will turn around eventually, and I'll sort of get the person to get to know me and see me and understand me, and we'll connect, and then we'll fall in love, and then we'll be exclusive, like this hopeful attachment to a perceived future that may not be 100% grounded in reality. So what do? Well, number one, you have to really ask yourself what you truly want. And you have to ask yourself this question: assuming nothing will ever change, especially because that's what is being presented to me, that's what this person is communicating to me, if they are, um, am I okay to invest my time, energy, and emotions into something that isn't going to change from this point forward? Or am I better off setting a boundary that respects what I desire and then moving in a different direction? And I will say one other thing. Sometimes anxious, preoccupied individuals, in rare cases, will get into friends with benefit situations if they're mourning an ex and they're not over that person and they're just trying to not feel alone. It's still the extension of like trying to avoid the I am alone core wound, but it can be for that reason where they actually don't necessarily want anything more with the person in front of them. But then oftentimes that changes into a relationship long term. If the other person hasn't said, oh, I just don't want anything beyond a friendship. So sort of side note there. So if you are in that position, you have to ask yourself, what do I truly want? Respect your boundaries, be clear about like how you're investing your own time and energy, and then ask yourself, okay, how can I show up and communicate those boundaries and assert my needs? And in the very least, have a conversation to say, you know what, I would love for something to work out in the future. I see this as like maybe a friendly situation now or a friends with benefit situation now, but I definitely want there to be a possibility of something, in the future. Would you ever be open to that? Because if you're not, I'm going to reconsider what my stance is on the situation and make sure I have my guard up a lot more and maybe back away. And so you have to have that conversation as well, which I know can be a really scary thing for an anxious, preoccupied person. But the alternative is that you violate yourself and you betray your own needs and boundaries and diminish your self worth accordingly. And then over rely on that person because you're under relying on yourself to feel worthy and validated and strong. And then you get into this vicious cycle that all like long term just causes a lot more pain than having the original conversation would in the first place. So hopefully that all makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.